welcome in to This Week in College Baseball, Week 12 edition, brought to you by Driving the Line. My name is Alan Bell. We've got a great show lined up for you today, and I'll tell you what, let's not waste any time. Let's get right to the brand new top 25, and here you go. Okay, so teams that are in white means that they have remained the same from where they were last week. Teams in green have moved up. Teams in red have dropped down, and then teams in blue, welcome to the top 25. So you see the top three, A&M, Arkansas, Tennessee, no change. Arguably the three best teams in the country, three most consistent teams in the country. Clemson, East Carolina, round out the top five, jumping up. Look at Oregon State, Florida State, jumping up there. Kentucky, tough series, drops back just a little bit. UC Irvine, we're going to talk more about them. They are on absolute fire right now. You see Virginia, North Carolina up, Wake Forest down. They're up and down every single week. Oklahoma State, we're going to talk more about them. Ranking coming in at number 14. They are on absolute fire. Mississippi State, welcome to the top 25. Vanderbilt, tough weekend. They dropped to 17. Louisiana drops to 18. Georgia coming up. All right, they're hitting the ball, man. It's what they do. NC State, we're going to talk more about them and what they are accomplishing. Rounding out the top 20 there. And then you see Arizona, Oklahoma drop. Alabama remains the same. Indiana State moves up 25 to 24. And Utah, welcome in to the top 25. All right, so that is for week 12 here. Now, let me put myself on the screen. Let's talk about our week 12 key series. All right. So for anybody brand new, and if you look at the link or you look at the show description, you'll see a link for a Google Drive. It is a free Google Drive I've created for everyone to always be able to access these slides right here. Nuggets, notes, stats, everything that I have, you have too. You can access it at any time. So make sure to check the show description there, and you can grab them. All right. So anybody brand new, these are the big weekend series of ranked teams of what we have. Texas A&M, and we'll talk more about them here in just a second. But we just kind of want to introduce and set the table for what we have this weekend. Texas A&M at LSU. Arkansas, number 2 at 8, Kentucky. Number 3, Tennessee at Florida. Ooh, that could be something there. Georgia Tech at number 4, Clemson. Clemson has got to get this thing going. Good week, but there's still some inconsistency. We'll talk more about that. Number 20, NC State at number 7, Florida State. That's going to be a great series there. Number 14, Oklahoma State on absolute freaking fire at the plate at Texas. We got a nugget for you on Texas here in a second. Number 23, Alabama is on the road taking on number 16, Mississippi State. Mississippi State moving up the rankings quietly there. And number 17, Vanderbilt at number 19, Georgia. That is going to be a series very important for both of these teams. Okay, so those are our key series here. Now let's talk about under the radar series that we had this weekend. These are, for one reason or another, series that the books, the public probably isn't paying too much attention to, but you should, and I'll tell you why. All right, the first one, Belmont, at number 24, Indiana State. Indiana State, obviously, we have ridden overs with them all year long. Belmont, excellent baseball team. They're located here in Nashville, downtown, literally just down the street from Vanderbilt University and down the street from Lipscomb. They're a good baseball team. Do not sleep on Belmont. The reason that we like this series, there could be a lot of runs scored, and you could see low totals if the books offer this one to you. Pay attention to this one. Next one, South Florida at number 5, East Carolina. East Carolina is literally playing perfect baseball right now, right? Like here in a minute, we're going to break down, our teams coming in hot. So to say, they're on that list every single week, and they just continue to crush other teams. They are just mashing at the plate, pitching, hitting, fielding, you name it, everything. We're going to be riding East Carolina this weekend. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. Ohio State at Illinois. Okay, same thing we talked about with Indiana State. Illinois, scoring runs over and over and over. That's what they do. Guess what? Ohio State, exactly the same. They score runs, give up runs. Illinois can score runs, give up runs. If you get this series in your books and the total isn't 18.5, which it won't be that. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, I'm going to be playing overs if the books give me this series this weekend. And then Wright State at Oakland, my God. Okay, Wright State, we don't have to talk about it. We already know. Oakland is essentially a baby Wright State. Go look at their recent history. Go look at their history all season. Go look at their history last season. Oakland can score a ton of runs. Oakland will give up a ton of runs if the books even dare to give this game. I don't even care what the total is. Literally. Yeah, so pay attention to Wright State and Oakland. If they give us those, my goodness, man. My goodness. All right. So let's jump into our Week 12 stat leaders. Home runs. So again, these are teams that obviously put up a ton of runs, and playing them not only money lines but totals have generally paid off nicely, especially when playing at home. Home, very, very important. College baseball. Austin P. Look at him. Clarksville, Tennessee, stand up. Austin P. leading the country in home runs with 128. Tennessee with 122. Georgia 113. Texas A&M, my God, is just on absolute fire the last few weeks in terms of hitting bombs. 102, and then Morehead State rounding it out with 98. Now pitching, the other side. Not necessarily that we always play these teams, unders, but just understand what you're getting into if you're betting these games, any type of way. The number that you see here is the batting average, on average all season, that teams are hitting against said teams. So I'll explain it like this. Number one, Arkansas. Teams are hitting 201 against Arkansas's pitching staff this season. That's it. Number two, Duke, 212. Number three, East Carolina. We spoke about them. Not only can they mash, buddy, they keep you from scoring 213. Lamar comes in at number four. Opponents hitting 215 against them. And then rounding out the top five, Louisiana. Teams are hitting 218 against your boys, the Raging Cajuns. Okay, now moving on from the stat leaders. Okay, now let's get into it. Let's dig in deep because this weekend, understand, we're 3 weekends left of the regular season of college baseball. Doesn't mean the season's coming to an end, like as a whole. There's a whole lot more. Conference tournaments will come after that. Then you've got regionals, super regionals, and then the College World Series alone. So, look, you've got time, all right? This thing's going to June. But what we do with coming in hot here, all right, is we want to identify the teams that are playing excellent baseball, and are we fading or following them this coming weekend? So I'll explain here. All right, Texas A&M. They've been on this list a couple weeks now. 3-1 last week, and they are at LSU. Yeah, I'm not afraid to play Texas A&M. Now, look, be careful. Certainly rivalry there. But LSU, I mean, LSU absolutely needs every single win it can get. So that's why I say be careful. But, I mean, Texas A&M could roll in and stomp LSU. Like, if they're playing how they've been, yeah, just pay attention to that first game there. All right, number two, Arkansas, 3-1 last week. At number 8, Kentucky. Ooh. This one is fascinating. Two excellent pitching staffs. Kentucky absolutely needs the series. You pretty much got a three-way race here for who's going to win the SEC. And it's going to come down to Arkansas, Kentucky, or Tennessee. And Arkansas, Kentucky obviously playing each other here. Yeah, two of the best pitching staffs in the country. Might want to look at unders here, especially on Friday. Number 3, Tennessee, 4-0 last week at Florida. Ugh, okay. If both teams are playing how they normally are, Tennessee could cruise. Tennessee could win all 3 by double digits. No, not double digits. You know what I mean. Covering run lines there. But Florida could score. And Tennessee and Florida, whenever you put them together in any sport, in any game, in anything, man, you just don't know what you're going to get. Except for runs. I think that runs are going to be coming heavy. Notice what the totals are in these games. It could be anywhere from 13.5 to 15.5. If you get anything 13.5, just jump on it. Like there's going to be runs on both sides for sure. There'll be a lot of home runs. They'll hit bombs against each other. East Carolina, number 5 in the country. They went 4-0 last week versus South Florida. My God, yes. I need say nothing more. That was the worst sentence of all time. I don't need to say anything more. Let me say that. We're going to be riding East Carolina this weekend. UC Irvine, okay, all the way up to number 9 in the country. They went 4-0 this past week. Cal Poly, not a bad baseball team here. There are going to be a lot of runs scored. If you get totals in this one, yeah. Very, because you're not going to get super high totals from the books if they give it to you. And they're going to be very, very attractive and attainable numbers. So keep a lookout for that one. Last one, Oklahoma State, 4-0 last week at Texas. We know Texas has lost the opening game in a weekend series in 7 straight. And Oklahoma State is just, dear God, just putting up runs at just an unreal tier here. So, yeah. We know we're going to be riding in the first game of this series there. Okay. Now, the bounce back. So, for anybody new, college baseball is very much a ping pong sport, okay? Good series, bad series, good series, bad series. Doesn't mean that it always plays out just like that. But the same thing with coming in hot. Like, if we're trying to find, teams that are staying hot or, teams that are due for a letdown, this is kind of the opposite of that. Either we're looking for a team that just had a tough weekend, is going to bounce back, needs to bounce back, usually does, or team is just playing just slaw baseball, right? And we're going to stay away. Coastal Carolina right now. We'll get to you in just a second. All right. So Clemson, like I said, went 2-2 last week at home versus Georgia Tech. This is a massive series for Clemson. Scary part is that Georgia Tech is good, and Georgia Tech can beat anybody at any time. But I think we get the real Clemson back this weekend. Let's watch that first game, see what the money line prices are, see what the totals are. But yeah, I think Clemson understands that this is a very, very vital weekend. All right, next one, Kentucky. Just mentioned they won 2 last week at home against number 2 Arkansas. We don't need to break that one down. We just did. Duke, all right, went 1-3 last week against Florida State, and midweek there at home against Longwood. I doubt that we get these games from the books, but if you do, I mean, yeah, the money line's going to be out of control, but I mean, Duke absolutely has to win this weekend. So I doubt that we get it, but if we do, yeah, there you go. There's your parlay piece. Number 17, Vanderbilt went 2-2 last week at number 19, Georgia. I don't know what to think about this one. I'm going to hold on this until we get closer, till we get here on Friday. Vanderbilt could smoke Georgia. Georgia could smoke Vanderbilt. And I don't know what we're going to get in terms of totals. We could actually get a really nice total here. Like, it could be around 12.5, 13.5. I doubt 12.5, but yeah, I be careful with this one. Be very, very careful with this one. Coastal Carolina 0-5 last week. Coastal Carolina is giving up runs at an ungodly amount. Just awful. Just awful. It started with their bullpen, and they were giving up a ton of runs late. Now they're just giving up runs every inning. Like, they are – Coastal Carolina is unplayable right now unless you want to play overs. Like, do it. Because it's going to take Coastal Carolina to score a ton of runs to win, and they're giving up runs at a ridiculous rate. So if you get a reasonable number, for a total in a Coastal game, yeah, I mean, one way or the other, it's probably going to happen. Here we go. Oregon went 2-2 last week. They were on the road against Oregon State last weekend. Brutal, right? Civil War, man. Great rivalry, and Oregon got some payback. It was a tough weekend, but I don't blame. Like, I take nothing away from Oregon, is what I'm trying to say. They're at number 25, Utah. Yeah, I mean, be careful, obviously. Utah's playing great baseball right now, but also what I've seen is that doesn't mean that this is going to play out again, but teams that enter the top 25 have rarely had good weekends. And it's been pretty consistent throughout the season. I'm nervous because it's on the road. If Oregon were playing at home, I would be all over Oregon. But the fact that it's on the road scares me. We might want to watch the first game of this series to see what we get out of it. Let's see. Okay, week 12, Diamonds in the Rough. Now, before we get to this, let me say that we're reaching the point of the regular season and just the full season as a whole that attrition is absolutely the key. When you have these weekend series, which team can get to the other team's bullpen as quickly as possible. And remember that this plays out throughout the entire weekend. All right. When you see teams that have to use arms a lot on Friday, a lot on Saturday, they get to Sunday, dude, it's hot. All right. The weather is heating up. You have guys that have thrown, guys that are tired arms. They're giving up a ton of runs. So, what I'm saying to you is this: don't be afraid. And look, you don't have to be, an MLB scout to do this work here. And what I mean by it is this: just jot down the amount of arms that teams use on Friday and that teams use on Saturday, right? Or, if it's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you get what I'm saying. Game 1, game 2, right? If you start to see a large discrepancy in that, that's usually trouble. Very much trouble. Not only for, picking a team, whether it be money line or run lines, but totals as well. So just pay attention to that. All right. Because now is that time where you're going to see some staffs and some managers try to keep starters out there as long as possible because there are only so many arms in a college bullpen. So that is like, if I could give you any piece of advice, pay attention to that absolutely right now. Okay. So diamonds in the rough here, and I'll pull this up full screen. A lot of these teams just continue to do exactly what we have found all season long. Indiana, 16 of their last 18 games have featured double-digit run totals. So pay attention to overs in any Indiana game. Not saying it's going to hit every time, but you got a pretty darn good shot at doing it, okay? Wright State, their last 14 games now, 293 runs scored between both teams. My God, just runs galore. Just absolutely insane. Wright State, we don't always get them from the books to bet, but when you do, buddy, take advantage of that. Okay, Illinois. Yeah, I mean, nothing new here. Averaging 12 runs per game over its last 3. They're on a nice winning streak. And let me get a drink of water here. They're on a nice winning streak before coming into to this previous weekend, but still, they're scoring runs. Ridiculous, amounts of runs. All right. This is just them. This isn't both teams. That Wright State stat, it's both teams. This is Illinois, man. So, yeah, continue to keep an eye on that. And if you get them this weekend, yeah, buddy, pay attention there. Texas, we mentioned it. Lost the opening game in 7 straight weekend series. Now they're at home, but they get Oklahoma State. That is going to be fascinating, man. East Carolina. They've won 8 straight games, and they're averaging 11. I don't know why I have GPG there. It said span. I'll fix that. They're averaging 11 runs per game in that span. They've won 8 straight. They're averaging 11. East Carolina is just on absolute fire. They're one of the best pitching stats in the country, best hitting teams in the country, just all over it, man. East Carolina is an absolute betting wagon right now. Bet them until they tell you not to. And they certainly have not done that. Finally, Oklahoma State. They've won 6 straight games, and they're averaging 13.1 runs per game in that span. 13.1. Go look at their recent history. My God, Oklahoma State is putting up runs game after game after game. It's absolutely crazy. So as we mentioned with Texas up there, good luck, buddy. If Oklahoma State continues to do what they're doing, that is going to be a brutal weekend. All right. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will obviously be all over college baseball Thursday if we have any games, but definitely Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You know it. You know the deal. But till then, everybody, best of luck. Let's cash all these tickets. We will see you tomorrow.